Captain Jiwoo Kim stood on the bridge of the exploration ship New Horizon, staring at the massive structure floating in the darkness ahead. After 6 months of traveling through deep space, they had finally reached their destination. The thing before them was unlike anything humans had ever seen. The structure was huge, maybe 10 times larger than Earth's moon. It looked like it was made of crystal, but the crystal glowed with a soft blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Strange symbols covered its surface, carved so deep they could be seen even from their distance. "How old did you say this thing was?" Jiwoo asked her science officer, Dr. Minji Park. Minji checked her readings again. "The dating shows it's at least 50 million years old, Captain. Maybe older. It's definitely not human-made, and it doesn't match any known alien technology in our databases." Jiwoo nodded. Humanity had been exploring space for over 200 years now. They had met 17 different alien species, made trade deals with some, fought wars with others, but none of them had technology this old or this advanced. "Take us closer," Jiwoo ordered, "but keep the shields up." Engineer Hyunwoo Lee worked at his station, guiding the ship forward. The New Horizon was built for deep space exploration, equipped with the best sensors and defensive systems humans could build. But looking at the ancient structure, Jiwoo wondered if their technology was good enough. As they got closer, the symbols on the structure became clearer. Minji gasped as she studied them through the ship's powerful telescopes. "Captain, these symbols, they look familiar." "Familiar how?" Jiwoo asked. "I'm not sure yet. But something about them reminds me of very old human writings, the kind we found in caves on Earth from before recorded history." Minji's voice was excited but confused. "It doesn't make sense, though. This thing is millions of years older than humanity." Biologist Soyoung Choi looked up from her station. "Captain, I'm reading some kind of energy field around the structure. It's very weak, but it's there. Almost like it's waiting for something." Before Jiwoo could respond, Lieutenant Do-Yun Nam called out from the communication station. "Captain, something's happening. The structure is reacting to our presence." The crystal structure began to glow brighter. The pulsing light changed from blue to white, then to gold. The symbols on its surface started to move, rearranging themselves into new patterns. "It's some kind of activation sequence," Minji said, her fingers flying over her controls. "The symbols are forming words now. I can almost read them." Suddenly a beam of light shot out from the structure and surrounded the New Horizon. But it wasn't an attack. The light felt warm, welcoming. The ship's systems reported no damage, no hostile intent. "It's scanning us," Hyunwoo reported. "But gently. Like it's trying to identify us rather than harm us." The scanning continued for several minutes. Then the light faded, and the structure returned to its normal blue glow. But something had changed. A new symbol appeared on its surface, bright and clear. Minji stared at the symbol, her mouth open in shock. "Captain, that symbol, it's the ancient human symbol for child or offspring. But how is that possible?" Before anyone could answer, space around them began to shimmer. Ships appeared out of nowhere, materializing as if they had stepped out of another dimension. The ships were beautiful and terrible at the same time. They looked like they were made of liquid metal and starlight, constantly shifting and changing shape. "Red alert," Jiwoo shouted. "All hands to battle stations." But the alien ships made no aggressive moves. Instead, they formed a protective circle around the New Horizon and the ancient structure. One ship, larger than the others, moved closer. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," Do-Yun reported. "It's not using any communication method we know, but somehow we can understand it." A voice filled the bridge. It was deep and ancient, but filled with warmth and something that sounded like joy. "Greetings, children of the distant stars. We are the Velthari. We have been waiting for this day for 50 million years." Jiwoo stepped forward, even though she knew the aliens couldn't see her. "This is Captain Jiwoo Kim of the Human Exploration, Vessel New Horizon. Who are you and how do you know our language?" "We know your language because we taught it to your ancestors long ago. We know your ship because we have watched your people grow and learn. We know you because you are our children. lost to the stars but finally ready to come home. The bridge fell silent. So-young was the first to speak. That's impossible. Humans evolved on Earth. We have the fossil record to prove it. The voice continued, patient and kind. You evolved on Earth, yes. But your true ancestors came from the stars. From us. The ones you call your earliest humans were our children, sent to Earth to keep them safe during a great war that nearly destroyed the galaxy. Another ship approached, and a new voice joined the first. This one was softer, more musical. I am Elder Tewin of the Velthari Council. May we come aboard your ship? There is much to explain, and the telling will be easier if we speak face to face. Jiwoo looked around her bridge. Her crew stared back at her with wide eyes, waiting for her decision. Everything they thought they knew about human history might be wrong. These aliens claimed to be their ancestors, their family. How do we know you're telling the truth? Jiwoo asked. Look within yourselves, Elder Taewon said. Look at what makes humans different from every other species you have met. Your curiosity, your refusal to give up, your ability to find hope in the darkest places. These are not random gifts. They are the inheritance we gave you before we had to send you away. Minji whispered. Captain, the DNA scans I ran last month. There were some sequences I couldn't identify. Sequences that seemed too complex to be natural evolution. Hyunwoo nodded. And our technology. We advance faster than any other species we've met. Like we're remembering things rather than inventing them. Jiwoo thought about humanity's history, their rapid spread across the galaxy, their ability to adapt to any environment, their talent for making friends with alien species that hated each other. Maybe they were different for a reason. Permission granted, she said finally. But we meet in the main docking bay, with full security present. Of course, Elder Taewon replied. We would not expect our children to trust strangers, even if those strangers are family. We taught you to be cautious. It has kept you alive. As the alien ship approached their docking bay, Jiwoo felt a strange sensation in her chest. It was like coming home after a long journey, even though she had never been away. Around her, the crew felt it too. The feeling that they were about to discover something that would change everything. The ancient structure pulsed brighter as if it approved. After 50 million years, the lost children of the Velthari had found their way back to the stars. The docking bay filled with a soft golden light as the Velthari ship connected to the new horizon. Jiwoo and her security team waited, weapons ready but not aimed. She had decided to trust these aliens, but she would not be foolish about it. HFY team airlock opened with a sound like music. 3 figures stepped through and Jiwoo's breath caught in her throat. The Velthari looked almost human, but taller and more graceful. Their skin had a faint silver glow, and their eyes were large and kind. They wore robes that seemed to be made of captured starlight. The tallest of the 3 stepped forward and bowed deeply. I am Elder Taewon. These are my companions, Healer Sunwoo and Keeper Yuna. We bring greetings from the Velthari Council and joy at this reunion. Jiwoo bowed back, unsure of the proper protocol. Welcome aboard the New Horizon. I am Captain Jiwoo Kim. These are my senior officers. Elder Taewon smiled, and the expression made him look both ancient and young at the same time. The names your people choose are beautiful. They carry the sound of home, though you do not remember why. You said we are your children, Jiwoo said. But our scientists say humans evolved on Earth over millions of years. How can both things be true? Come, Elder Taewon said. Let us show you the truth that has been hidden in your own bodies for 50 million years. They moved to the ship's main laboratory where Minji and So-young had prepared their best scanning equipment. Keeper Yuna carried a device that looked like a crystal flower made of pure light. This is a memory keeper, she explained. It can read the genetic memories stored in your DNA and show them to you. Every species carries the story of their ancestors in their blood. Yours carries more than most. So-young looked skeptical. Genetic memory is mostly theoretical in human science. We've never been able to prove it exists. Healer Sunwoo smiled gently. That is because you have been looking with instruments made for surface memories. The deep memories require deeper tools. May we demonstrate? After some discussion, Hyunwoo volunteered to be the test subject. He sat in a special chair while Keeper Yuna activated her device. The crystal flower opened like a blooming star and light flowed over Hyunwoo's body. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Hyunwoo gasped and his eyes rolled back. But he did not seem to be in pain. Instead, he looked amazed, like he was seeing the most beautiful thing in the universe. I can see them, he whispered, the first humans. But they're not on Earth. They're here, with you. The laboratory filled with images that seemed to come from the light itself. Everyone could see what Hyunwoo was seeing. A world of crystal cities and floating gardens, people who looked like humans but were taller, stronger, more graceful, and with them, the Velthari, teaching and learning together. Elder Taewon's voice was soft with memory. 50 million years ago, the Velthari were the oldest species in the galaxy, but we were alone. We had grown wise, but we had lost the fire of youth. So we did something that had never been done before. We created a sister species. The images showed Velthari scientists working with complex genetic equipment. But they were not creating life from nothing. They were taking the best parts of their own genetics and combining them with something else, something wild and beautiful. We took our wisdom and mixed it with the chaos of new life, Keeper Yuna explained. The result was your ancestors. They had our intelligence but kept the passion and curiosity we had lost. They were everything we hoped for and more. So-young watched the images with wonder. They looked so much like us, but stronger, faster. They were, Healer Sunwoo said. But more than that, they were innovators. Where we Velthari had learned to be careful and slow, your ancestors were bold and quick. They invented new technologies, in months that would have taken us centuries to develop. They found solutions to problems we did not even know we had. The images changed, showing great cities where Velthari and humans worked side by side. There were schools where Velthari taught human children, and laboratories where human scientists made discoveries that amazed their teachers. It was a golden age, Elder Taewon said. For 10 million years our two species grew together. We learned from each other. We explored the galaxy as a family, but then the images darkened. Space itself seemed to tear open, and terrible things poured through. They looked like living shadows with hungry eyes, consuming everything they touched. The devourers of light came from beyond our galaxy. Elder Taewon's voice was heavy with old pain. They fed on life itself, turning living worlds into empty rock. Our combined fleets fought them for 1,000 years, but we were losing. The images showed great battles in space, with ships of impossible beauty fighting against creatures of pure darkness. Many of the human-built ships were destroyed, their crews consumed by the shadow beings. We faced a terrible choice, Keeper Yuna continued. Stay and fight until all life in the galaxy was consumed, or scatter our children to worlds so distant that the devourers would never find them. Jiwoo watched as the images showed Velthari and humans saying goodbye. There were tears on both sides as human families were loaded onto simple, primitive ships. The humans looked confused, like they did not understand what was happening. We had to erase their memories, Healer Sunwoo explained. The knowledge of what they were leaving behind would have driven them mad. We could only leave hints, buried deep in their genetic code, hoping that someday they would be ready to remember. Earth was one of thousands of destination worlds, Elder Taewon said. We chose it because it was young and full of life, perfect for your ancestors to grow and develop. We made them forget their technology, their history, everything that made them who they were. All we left them was their nature, their curiosity, their strength, their refusal to give up. Hyunwoo opened his eyes, tears streaming down his face. I remember. Not clearly, but I remember. The songs they used to sing about the stars. The way they looked up at the night sky like they were homesick. Minji checked her scanners, her hands shaking with excitement. The DNA patterns, Captain, they match. Humans really are related to the Velthari. We're family. Elder Taewon nodded. Family that has been apart for 50 million years. But you have grown strong in that time. Stronger than we ever imagined you could. You have spread across your galaxy, made friends with species that should have been your enemies, survived wars and disasters that would have destroyed other races. What happened to the Devourers? Jiwoo asked. The three Velthari exchanged glances. We drove them back at great cost. Most of our people were lost in the final battle. Those of us who survived have spent the last 50 million years rebuilding, waiting, watching for signs that our children were ready to return to the stars. Keeper. Yuna smiled. And now you are here. You found the beacon we left, activated it with your presence. You have grown into everything we hoped you would become and more. So-young looked at the readings on her scanner. But why now? Why reveal this to us now? Elder Taewon's expression grew serious. Because the Devourers are returning. Our long-range sensors have detected them at the edge of the galaxy. They are coming back to finish what they started 50 million years ago. The laboratory fell silent. Outside the ship, the ancient beacon pulsed with its steady blue light, a lighthouse calling the lost children home. But now they knew it was also a warning signal, telling them that their greatest test was yet to come. 3 days later, the New Horizon docked with the massive Velthari mothership called the Heart of Stars. Jiwoo had never seen anything like it. The ship was the size of a small moon, but it moved through space like a living thing. Gardens floated, in transparent bubbles along its hull, and waterfalls of light cascaded between its towers. Elder Taewon led them through corridors that seemed to grow and change as they walked. The council has been debating for 72 hours, he explained. Some believe humanity is not ready for the knowledge we wish to share. Others say we have no choice given what is coming. They entered a vast chamber where 12 Velthari elders sat in a circle of floating chairs. In the center stood a woman who looked younger than the others, but carried herself with great authority. Her silver hair floated around her head like she was underwater, and her eyes held the weight of ages. I am Matriarch Yunji, she said, her voice echoing in the chamber. I speak for the Council of 12, the last remnant of our once great civilization. We have called you here to make an offer that has never been made before. Jiwoo stepped forward with her crew beside her. What kind of offer? The offer to reclaim your birthright, Matriarch Yunji said. For 50 million years your people have lived with only a fraction of their true abilities. We can restore what was taken from them. Enhanced strength, extended lifespans, telepathic abilities, and access to technologies that would advance your civilization by thousands of years. Minji gasped. You can really do that? We can, another elder said. But first, you must prove that humanity has retained the qualities that made your ancestors special. The gift of restoration cannot be given to those who would use it for evil. Matriarch, Yunji waved her hand and the chamber around them changed. They were standing in a field of stars, with planets and galaxies spinning slowly around them. We call this the inheritance test. 3 challenges that will show us whether humanity is ready to rejoin the galactic community as our equals. What kind of challenges? Hyunwoo asked. The kind that test what makes humans human, Elder Taewon replied. Your ancestors were special not because they were strong or smart, but because they had qualities that no other species possessed. Qualities we fear may have been lost over 50 million years of separation. The first challenge began immediately. The star field around them shifted, showing a dying planet. Its sun was growing cold, and the millions of creatures living on its surface would freeze to death within days. This is a real world in our galaxy, Matriarch Yunji explained. The people there have given up hope. Their scientists say nothing can be done. Their leaders have accepted death. Show us the human solution. Jiwoo looked at the planet, her mind racing. The problem seemed impossible. How do you save a world when its sun is dying? But then she remembered something Elder Taewon had said about humans finding solutions to problems others did not even know existed. Minji, what do you see? She asked. Minji studied the planet carefully. The sun isn't actually dying, Captain. It's being drained by some kind of energy parasite. Something is feeding on the star's power. So Young pointed to dark shapes moving around the sun. There, those things. They're not natural. Someone put them there. But who would do such a thing? Hyunwoo wondered. Someone who wants the planet's people to give up. Jiwoo realized. This isn't a natural disaster. It's an attack designed to break their spirits. Elder Taewon smiled. And what would humans do about it? We'd remove the parasites, Jiwoo said simply. And then we'd find whoever put them there and make sure they never do it again to anyone else. The image shifted, showing human ships approaching the dying sun. With typical human stubbornness, they ignored the danger and flew directly into the star's corona to destroy the energy parasites. Within hours, the sun blazed bright again, and the planet below began to warm. Hope over despair. Matriarch Yoonji nodded approvingly. The first test is passed. The second challenge was different. They found themselves looking at a space station, where 3 different alien species were trapped together after their ships had collided. The aliens hated each other, had been at war for centuries, and refused to cooperate even though they would all die if they did not work together to repair their life support systems. These species have been enemies for 1,000 years, another elder explained. They would rather die than help each other. Their hatred runs deeper than their desire to live. What is the human solution? This time So-young spoke first. We make them see what they have in common instead of what divides them. She gestured, and the image showed human negotiators arriving at the station, but instead of trying to make peace between the enemies, they focused on something else entirely. They talked about the children on each ship, the families waiting at home, the dreams and hopes that every species shared. Humans don't try to eliminate differences, So-young explained. We celebrate them. We show people that being different is not the same as being enemies. The image showed the 3 alien species slowly beginning to work together, guided by human mediators who treated them all with equal respect and kindness. Soon they were not just repairing their ships, but planning trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Empathy over hatred, Matriarch Yoonji said. The second test is passed. The third challenge was the hardest. They were shown a massive fleet of dark ships approaching a peaceful world. The defenders had good weapons and strong walls, but they were vastly outnumbered. Any military expert would say the battle was hopeless. This is the world where your ancestors first learned to fight, Elder Taewon said quietly. The attackers have 10 times more ships, better weapons, and no mercy. The defenders have already lost half their fleet. Their commanders want to surrender to save lives. What would humans do? Hyunwoo stepped forward. We'd find a way to win anyway. But how? An elder challenged. Look at the numbers. The attack is mathematically certain to succeed. Humans don't care about mathematics when people need help, Jiwoo said. We care about doing what's right, even when it seems impossible. The image changed to show human ships arriving at the battle, but they did not attack the enemy fleet directly. Instead, they did something unexpected. They began helping the civilian population evacuate, moving them to safety faster than anyone thought possible. While everyone else was focused on fighting, Jiwoo explained. We were focused on saving lives, and when the attackers saw that their victims were escaping, they had to choose between chasing the civilians or fighting the defenders. The enemy fleet split up, weakening their attack. The human ships then did something even more unexpected. They began broadcasting messages to the attacking ships, not threats or demands for surrender, but stories. Stories about the families on the planet below, about the children who were being protected, about the beauty and wonder of the world they were trying to destroy. Some of the attackers began to question their orders. Minji added, humans have this ability to make others see the value in what they're trying to protect. The battle ended not with a great victory, but with many of the attacking ships simply leaving. Their crews could not bring themselves to destroy something so beautiful and precious. Courage over fear, Matriarch Yoonji said, and her voice was filled with wonder. In 50 million years, you have not lost what made your ancestors special. You have made it stronger. The star field around them faded, and they were back in the council chamber. The 12 elders were looking at the humans with expressions of joy and pride. "The tests are complete," Matriarch Yunji announced. "Humanity has proven they are ready to reclaim their birthright, but there is no time for the full restoration ceremony." Elder Taewon's expression grew grave. "Our deep space sensors have detected the Devourer's advance fleet. They will reach this galaxy in 30 days. The main invasion force will arrive in 90 days. Then we fight," Jiwoo said simply. "With what?" an elder asked. "Your ships are advanced for such a young species, but they cannot stand against the Devourer's power." Jiwoo smiled, and it was the same stubborn smile that had carried humanity across the galaxy. "With what we've always fought with: hope, friendship, and the refusal to give up." Matriarch Yunji stood. "Then let us prepare for war, my children. It is time for the Velthari and their lost children to stand together once more." The combined human and Velthari fleet hung in space like a constellation of hope against the approaching darkness. In just 28 days, they had accomplished what should have taken years. Human engineering skills merged with Velthari. Technology created weapons and ships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Commander Junho Yoon stood on the bridge of the new flagship Unity, watching the tactical displays with growing concern. The advanced scouts had returned with terrible news. The Devourer fleet was even larger than expected, and they had brought something new with them. "They're not just consuming planets anymore," reported Lieutenant Do-hyun Nam from his station. "They're draining entire star systems, turning them into void space. Hundreds of civilizations have gone dark in the past week." Jiwoo, now wearing the uniform of Fleet Admiral, studied the reports alongside Matriarch Yunji. The Velthari leader had not aged in 50 million years, but now she looked tired and worried. "They have learned from our last battle," Yunji said, quietly. "Before they only consumed life. Now they consume the very fabric of space and time itself. They are trying to turn our galaxy into an empty zone where nothing can exist." Dr. Minji Park looked up from her research station. She had been working non-stop with Velthari scientists, trying to understand the enemy. "Admiral, I think I know why they're different this time. They're not just hungry anymore, they're angry." "Angry about what?" Jiwoo asked. "About being defeated 50 million years ago," Minji explained. "They've spent all this time growing stronger, more organized. This isn't just an invasion, it's revenge." The first Devourer scout ships appeared at the edge of the system like tears in reality itself. They looked like living nightmares, made of shadow and hunger given form. As soon as they arrived, stars began to dim, and planets started to turn cold. "All ships, this is Admiral Kim," Jiwoo broadcast to the fleet. "Remember what we learned in the simulations. Do not try to fight them directly. Our goal is to protect the evacuation ships and buy time for the civilians to escape." The battle began badly. The Devourer ships moved through space like sharks through water, ignoring most weapons fire and consuming everything they touched. 3 Velthari cruisers were drained to empty hulks in the first 5 minutes of combat. But then something unexpected happened. The human ships began to retreat, but not in panic. They moved in perfect formation, leading the Devourers away from the civilian evacuation routes. And as they retreated, they did something that confused the enemy completely. They began to sing. "What are they doing?" Matriarch Yunji asked in amazement. So Young, now serving as the fleet's xenobiologist, smiled through her tears. "They're doing what humans do when things look hopeless. They're making sure everyone knows they're not alone." The song spread from ship to ship, carried over the communication channels. It was not a war song or a battle hymn. It was a lullaby, the same one human mothers had sung to their children for thousands of years. The same one their ancestors had, sung 50 million years ago when they were scattered to the stars. The Devourers stopped their advance, confused by this behavior. They fed on fear and despair, but the humans were broadcasting love and comfort instead. For creatures that consumed negative emotions, the song was like a poison they could not digest. "Now," Jiwoo ordered. "All ships, execute Plan Unity." The human and Velthari ships suddenly changed direction, moving in a pattern that looked random but was actually carefully calculated. They began to surround the Devourer fleet, not to trap them but to protect something else. In the center of the formation, a new type of ship appeared. It was built from both human and Velthari technology, but it was powered by something entirely different. It was powered by the combined will of both species, their shared determination to protect what they loved. Commander Junho had volunteered to pilot this experimental ship. As he activated its systems, he felt the minds of thousands of humans and Velthari joining with his own. Their hope, their courage, their refusal to surrender, all flowing through him like a river of light. "This is impossible," one of the Velthari elders whispered. "Individual consciousness cannot merge like this and remain stable." "Human consciousness can," Hyunwoo replied from his position at the engineering station. "We've been doing it in small ways for our entire history. Every time we work together, every time we sacrifice for each other, every time we choose love over fear." The ship began to glow with the same golden light they had seen from the ancient beacon. But this light was different. It was not just ancient wisdom or advanced technology. It was the combined spirit of two species who had chosen to be family. The Devourers tried to drain this new ship like they had drained the others, but something went wrong. Instead of consuming the ship's energy, they began to change. The darkness that made up their bodies started to shimmer and crack, revealing something hidden underneath. "By the ancient stars," Matriarch Yunji gasped. "They're not monsters. They're prisoners." Minji's sensors confirmed what they were all seeing. The Devourers were not evil beings who chose to consume life. They were the twisted remains of civilizations that had been consumed themselves, trapped and corrupted by some greater darkness that used them as tools. The real enemy is not here, So-young realized. The Devourers are just slaves. Something else is controlling them from outside our galaxy. The golden light from the Unity ship spread outward, touching each Devourer vessel. As it did, the shadows that covered them began to fall away like old chains breaking. Underneath, they could see the ships as they had once been, beautiful vessels from 100 different civilizations, all enslaved by the same dark force. But the real enemy was not about to lose its tools easily. Space itself began to crack and tear as something vast and terrible tried to force its way into their galaxy. It was like looking at a wound in reality, and through that wound came a voice that spoke directly to their minds. "You cannot free what belongs to me," the voice said, and it carried the weight of 1 billion consumed worlds. "I am the entropy between stars, the darkness between thoughts. I am what remains when everything else is gone." Jiwoo felt the fear. That voice was meant to inspire, but she also felt something else. She felt the presence of every human who had ever refused to give up, every person who had chosen hope over despair, love over hate. She felt her ancestors scattered to the stars 50 million years ago, and she felt their children spreading hope across the galaxy. "You're wrong," she said, speaking not just to the enemy but to everyone in the fleet. "You're not what remains when everything else is gone. We are. We're what remains when the universe tries to break us. We're what remains when enemies try to divide us. We're what remains when darkness tries to consume us." The combined fleet, human and Velthari and now freed Devourer ships, began to move as one. They were not attacking the tear in space. They were healing it, using their shared will and combined technology to stitch reality back together. "This is not possible," the voice from beyond screamed as its gateway began to close. "I have consumed 1,000 galaxies. You are nothing but mayflies and children." "Then you don't understand what children can become," Junho replied from the Unity ship. "You don't understand what families can accomplish when they work together." The gateway closed with a sound like the universe sighing in relief. The freed Devourer ships hung in space, their true forms revealed for the first time in eons. They were scarred and damaged, but they were free. As the last echoes of the battle faded, Jiwoo looked around at the mixed fleet. Humans, Velthari, and a dozen other species that had been enslaved as Devourers, all working together to repair the damage and help the wounded. "Is it over?" Matriarch Yunji asked. "This battle is," Jiwoo replied. "But I think the real work is." Just beginning. We have a galaxy to heal and a lot of lost children to bring home. 1 year after the Battle of Unity, the galaxy was a very different place. The new Galactic Council met on a space station built from the combined technologies of 47 different species, all of them working together for the first time. In recorded history, Admiral Jiwoo Kim walked through the council chambers, observing the delegates with quiet satisfaction. In one corner, human engineers worked alongside former Devourer technicians to develop new methods of healing damaged solar systems. In another, Velthari teachers shared their ancient wisdom with young representatives from species that had been enemies just months before. "The transformation continues to amaze me," said Matriarch Yunji, joining Jiwoo at the observation window. "In 1 year we have accomplished more cooperation than we achieved in the previous 10,000 years. Jiwoo nodded. "Humans have a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. I think we've learned it takes a galaxy to heal one." Through the window, they could see the construction of the Memorial Fleet, a collection of ships dedicated to finding and restoring worlds damaged by the Devourers. Each ship was crewed by volunteers from multiple species, working together to bring life back to dead systems. Dr. Minji Park approached them, carrying a data tablet filled with reports. Her hair was streaked with gray now, but her eyes sparkled, with the excitement of new discoveries. "Admiral, I have the final analysis of the restoration project. You're going to want to see this." The report showed the results of the new process they had developed, combining human determination with Velthari wisdom and the unique abilities of the freed Devourer species. Instead of just returning consumed worlds to their previous state, they were making them better than before. "We're not just fixing what was broken," Minji explained. "We're upgrading it. The former Devourer species have this incredible ability to understand the deep structure of matter and energy. When they use that ability to create instead of destroy, the results are amazing." Commander Junho Yoon, now serving as the head of the Memorial Fleet, had just returned from a mission to restore a system that had been dark for 300 years. 7 worlds brought back to life in 2 months, he reported. And not just alive, but thriving. The new ecosystems are more stable and diverse than the originals. So Young Choi, now the chief xenobiologist for the Galactic Council, had been studying the long-term effects of the unity consciousness that humans and Velthari could share. "We're seeing something unprecedented," she said. "Species that were completely isolated before are developing the ability to share thoughts and emotions with each other. It's like the entire galaxy is slowly becoming one big family." But not everyone was happy with these changes. A group of human separatists, led by a man named Captain Kangmin Lee, believed that humanity should claim their position as the dominant species in the galaxy. They had been causing problems at several restoration sites, demanding that humans be given special treatment because of their role in defeating the Devourers. "We saved this galaxy," Kangmin argued during a council session. "We deserve to rule it. The Velthari had their chance and failed. The other species were either helpless or corrupted. Only humans proved strong enough to stand against the darkness." Jiwoo listened to his speech with patience, but when he finished, she stood to respond. "Captain Lee, you're right about one thing. Humans did help save the galaxy, but we didn't do it by being stronger or smarter than everyone else. We did it by refusing to face the darkness alone." She gestured to the delegates around them. "Every species here contributed something essential to our victory. The Velthari provided the wisdom and technology we needed. The former Devourers gave us the understanding of our enemy's true nature. Even the species that were consumed gave us the motivation to keep fighting." Elder Taewon, now serving as the Velthari representative to the council, added his voice to Jiwoo's. "Our children have learned what we forgot long ago. True strength comes not from domination but from connection, not from standing above others but from helping them stand with you." The debate continued for hours, but in the end the council voted overwhelmingly to continue the cooperative approach. Kangmin and his followers were disappointed, but they were not punished. Instead, they were invited to join the Memorial Fleet missions, where they could see firsthand how much more effective cooperation was than competition. 6 months later, Kangmin himself would become one of the strongest advocates for Galactic unity after spending time working with former Devourer engineers to restore a system that had been dead for millennia. As the council session ended, Ji-woo found herself standing alone in the observation lounge, looking out at the stars. Each point of light represented a world that was healing, a species that was learning to trust again, a future that looked brighter than anything they had dared to hope for. Hyun-woo Lee joined her, now wearing the uniform of the chief engineer, for the Galactic Restoration Project. "Penny for your thoughts, Admiral?" "I'm thinking about something Elder Taewon said when we first met," Ji-woo replied. "He said we were their lost children coming home. But I don't think that's what really happened." "What do you think happened?" Ji-woo smiled. "I think we all found each other. The Velthari thought they were our parents, but really we became siblings. The Devourers thought they were our enemies, but really they became our friends. The galaxy thought it was broken, but really it was just waiting for the right family to help it heal." A new voice joined their conversation. "And what kind of family are we now?" They turned to see a young representative from one of the former Devourer species. She looked almost human, but with silver skin and eyes that held the memory of ancient pain and new hope. "We're the kind of family that chooses each other," Ji-woo said. "The kind that doesn't care where you came from or what you used to be. The kind that helps everyone become the best version of themselves." Through the observation window, they could see ships from dozens of species working together on a new project. They were building a garden in space, a vast collection of habitats where any species could come to study, learn, and share their knowledge with others. "What should we call it?" Hyun-woo asked. The young former Devourer smiled, and it was the first time any of them had seen one of her species truly happy. "Let's call it New Beginning, because that's what this is for all of us." As they watched, a small human ship approached the construction site. It was carrying a group of children from Earth, coming to see the galaxy their ancestors had helped to save. The children pressed their faces to the viewports, pointing excitedly at the alien ships and the strange new worlds they could see in the distance. "They don't see enemies or strangers," So-young observed, joining the group at the window. "They just see friends they haven't met yet." "That's the human way," Ji-woo said proudly. "And now it's becoming the galactic way too." The ancient beacon still floated in space near the construction site, no longer pulsing with urgent summons, but glowing with a steady, peaceful light. It had called the lost children home, but they had brought more than just themselves. They had brought hope, determination, and the unshakable belief that any family could overcome any challenge if they faced it together. In the distance, new ships were arriving every day. Representatives from species that lived in other galaxies, drawn by reports of the great healing that was taking place. They came as strangers, but they were welcomed as future family members. The universe was vast and full of wonders and dangers that no one species could face alone. But they would not have to face them alone anymore. The lost children of the Velthari had grown up, and they had taught the galaxy what it meant to be a family. And in the quiet spaces between stars, where darkness had once waited to consume everything, now there was light. The light of hope, of friendship, of love that refused to be extinguished. The light of a galaxy that had chosen to heal itself, one world at a time, one species at a time, one family at a time. The greatest adventure was just beginning.